Thank you for choosing OKTV's Alternatives, a public access forum that invites people within our local area to express ideas and viewpoints to challenge the thoughts of our viewers and to foster a mindset that dares to defy today's conventional wisdom by searching for new truths in health, politics, and art, for those seeking clarity and true purpose in their daily lives. I'm Al DiGiacomo, your host for tonight's program. In his youth, our guest worked on a farm in Pompton Plains, New Jersey, where he developed the joy of plants, and he has recently completed studies at Dominion Herbal College in British Columbia. And today he continues an intense self-study of American, European, Russian, Ayurvedic, and traditional Chinese medicinal herbs. Please welcome once again to Alternatives herbologist Terry Gellner. Terry, on our last visit, we talked about tea and their benefits. Today we're going to focus in on medicinal herbs.
All right.
Tell us a little bit about your background as an herbologist, how you became interested, and what it's like actually to study the different medicinal herbs.
Well, about 8 years ago, I worked for Department of Defense, and it was a job with many hats, too much pressure. And when I was a kid, as you said before, I worked on a farm. And I had a good time there. I learned a lot. Life was good. It was strong, good work, okay? Stuff good families are made out of. Mm-hmm. And so I had some opportunity and some land, and I bought a greenhouse and a tiller and turned under about a 1/4 acre of land. And what I couldn't consume from what I grew on that 1/4 acre in the house, I live on a county road, and I put out on the road for people to drive by and purchase my beans or whatnot. A lady stopped by one day, and she says, "Can you grow me catnip? It puts me to sleep." So from there, I'm off to Rutgers Agricultural Library, and here I am 8 years later in the tea business. And I blend specifically for people for whatever they wish me to blend for, or I, as you had said, completed my certification for herbology, and I blend known recipes for specific conditions.
Do you experiment a bit on your own, with your own, knowing that this herb is a little bit, do you put variations into your recipes at all?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I blend specifically for what the general population may want, but if somebody comes into me and says, well, I also have this as a tick, or I get a cough when I do this, then specifically I'll put, say, wild cherry or peppermint or wintergreen or whatever it calls for with that blend and adjust it accordingly.
Okay. Well, there's been, again, a recent interest in people with natural healing properties of herbs and plants. What do you think the reason is for this, Terry?
Well, chiefly, herbs will go into your system faster than a chemical. Where a chemical is produced in a laboratory, synthesized, when you take it, your body really doesn't recognize it right away. So you need to build up a little bit of that chemical in your body to fight whatever the problem is in your body. Herbs, on the other hand, are natural. They're just like us. They're just a different form of energy and a different shape. And they go into the body and they perform right away. Now, when you take an herb, it's better that you take it as a tea than as a capsule or as a syrup candy.
A prepared elixir?
Right. If you can stay away from the alcohol, because there again, the alcohol, you don't know where it's coming from, you have no control over that as far as a tincture or an extract goes. But if you can make water extracts all you want, they won't hurt you.
So, again, the main difference between an herbal remedy and a pharmacological drug therapy is how it relates to the cell. Is there a different reaction that you would get from an herbal remedy versus a pharmaceutical, on how it pushes and pulls illness and wellness out of the body? Could you explain that?
From what I know, okay, in what I've been taught in herbology, we try to pull out of the tissue the disease, whether to pull it out by cutting its inflammation and pulling it out into the serous fluids and out through the glandular system and out through the liver and spleen, or as a blood purifier, which helps clean the tissue capillaries and pulls the disease out. Chemicals made in the laboratory work to decrease the inflammation, but the disease predominantly is still in the tissue. So it's masking the pain, not taking away
Sure.
the pain, not going to the root of the problem. And that's where our modern laboratories are still trying to figure out how to pull it out of the tissues.
Instead of sending it deeper into our bodies?
Right. There's a steroid out there that will cut the inflammation down, but it sends the disease into the tissue deeper. And they use it for asthmatics, people with arthritis. It's very popular. You get a shot of this stuff and you feel great for a couple of days, especially people with bad arthritis. They know exactly what it is. And after that, the pain all comes back. Instead of decreasing the inflammation of the capillaries and re-lubricating the joints, so to speak, with herbs or with oils.
Right.
We're just cutting, we're masking the pain. It's like giving you morphine. Morphine's a great natural substance to mask the pain. But when the morphine wears off, they're in pain again.
Let's go back. We're in the grips of the winter time. Arthritis flares up in many people. Let's talk about what type of an herb you would use for arthritis. What do you have here that would relieve someone of an arthritic pain, Terry?
Well, I put together a blend for arthritis, rheumatism, and gout. And specifically this is a blend of burdock, boswellia gum, and devil's claw. In reverse order, it would be burdock if you have a mild case of inflammation in your joints. Take burdock root. You'll be surprised. Within 20 minutes, you should start to feel something as far as decreasing in the pain. Devil's claw would be more aggressive if you are really bent up and hard to move and stiff. Take some devil's claw. And boswellia gum is an Indian herb used for anti-inflammation. So what I've done is I've taken all three of the world's known best herbs for anti-inflammation, put them together in a blend, and metered the dose. So you take one packet and you empty the packet into a saucepan and prepare it according to the directions. And there's enough in here to last you a day or two in that one packet that you put together. And that will help your inflammation and help purify your system or your tissues.
And to help the immune system start to rebuild any damaged tissue, or is just to quell the inflammation?
Well, your body will heal itself. If the tissue is clean, the body will do its job. The idea is to keep the tissues clean. That's done by drinking plenty of fluid, or specifically water, to keep yourself hydrated, to keep everything moving along. And then anti-inflammatories to decrease the swelling in certain places, or something to help pull or chelate from the tissues. Nutrition that's been used that just seems to be stuck, all right, to get that out. Echinacea is a good one, whereby echinacea you use in the first 48 hours of being sick. And all that basically does is clean out the glands.
Echinacea is also good for lung therapy. Isn't it also good for the lungs?
You can use it for the lungs, but primarily its main purpose would be for the glands, to help keep the glands clean. So if the glands are clean when you're sick, it gives the tissue someplace to deposit the illness or the virus or the dead cells that have been attacked by the white blood. And they deposit it in, and it's cleaned out. It's got a clear channel to flow in.
Okay, we're also talking about the time of the year where people have lung problems, asthmatic inside the cold. We're cooped into our homes, and different types of heating systems that we have, hot air and such. What would be used for a lung or an asthmatic type of a problem? Would that be also a tea, something like for bronchitis and lung?
Well, I put together a blend for bronchitis and lung congestion, specifically congestion where you're all full with phlegm and you need to break that up and expel it. And that would be hyssop, lobelia, or mullein will help break up the matter in the phlegm in your chest and help you to expel it. For asthmatics, I make a mayhung and mint, or ephedra and mint. And that is ephedra, peppermint, and elder flowers. Now, elder is a lubricator to the lungs. The peppermint adds flavor, a balanced flavor, and the mayhung works to loosen the muscle around the bronchial tubes. So therefore, if the muscle is relaxed, the lung is going to be relaxed, and you'll be allowed to get more air in there, and less wheezing, more relaxation. Mayhung has a negative side effect. For people who do not have asthma, really should not take it because it will make them hyper, speed them up.
I see.
Okay, but for an asthmatic, it's good stuff.
Now, I see we have some natural herbs in front of us here. Can we take a moment out and kind of bandy about through what we have in front of us here, Terry?
Okay. This here is sage. It's grown in the Mediterranean. It's excellent for cleaning out mucus that lines your membranes from the top of your throat all the way through the exit of the body. And if you keep the mucus down, you are less likely to develop a place along the wall where matter can sit and stay or rot on the wall. And as more mucus is being pushed and this matter is being pushed out, so it develops a pocket. Okay, most common pockets for matter to be created in these pockets is your intestines.
Diverticuli?
Diverticuli. Sage helps to wash away the mucus that lines that area, and thereby allowing the walls to grow back because they're cleaned out.
Now, when the body is constantly fighting these small, low-level kind of infections, is that what gradually depletes the immune system when it really needs to rev up and to take care of an invasion by a bacteria or a virus?
Yes. If the body is constantly fighting, and then all of a sudden something comes out of the blue, it really hits, that person's going down. The idea is to keep the body hydrated, clean, clean, clean. So the sage works to keep the mucus in line. The mayhung works to keep the bronchial tubes loose. The burdock would be used for purifying the blood. Dandelion could be used for keeping the liver and the kidneys clean and spongy the way they're supposed to be. Let's see. If you have the need, you're coming down with a cold, or you have a parasite in your system whereby you feel a little sick but not totally overwhelmed, you could take yarrow. Yarrow flowers are a natural antibiotic. They don't mess up your the friendly bacteria in your gut.
And that's a common plant in the area,
Yep.
isn't it?
It grows all over. You'll find it. It's a yellow, very aromatic flower, and it's common to northern New Jersey.
I believe that the oils in the leaves are also an antiseptic for skin abrasion.
Right, and insect bites.
I see.
Okay.
Now, also, for people who have allergies, now we all live in our local areas. Not many of us are prone to living the jet set in a different town every week. But with local herbs, or say a jar of local honey, how would that come into play with someone who has an allergy?
Okay, allergy specifically. Honey, if you have a teaspoon a day, it will put into your body the local pollens in the area. When the weather changes and it goes from winter to spring and spring to summer, there's pollens in the air falling all over the place. If you're prone to sneezing and whatnot, this will help cut it down. specifically local honey, because now you're putting the pollens into yourself, you're inoculating yourself against the changes in the weather.
And again, being natural, it's not synthesized in a
It's not
laboratory.
synthesized, right?
Would anybody would have an adverse reaction?
An overly sensitive person to daisies would have a problem to this, but
It's not going to put anyone's life at risk,
no.
as if you were to have an adverse reaction to, say, a swine flu vaccination or something like that.
No, this is all natural. Your body accepts it as a kinship of energy, whereby it's not synthesized, it's not created by a chemical source. It's natural. It's just like you.
Yeah.
You're natural.
Well, I think I am.
I hope so.
I hope so. As our modern society dictates a fast-paced life, and we continue to eat fast foods and some foods that are grown in countries that allow residue of different pesticides to remain on these, are there herbs that we can use to flush out these specific toxins and specific herbs to bolster our immune system to such toxins?
Well, to bolster your immune system to such toxins, I'm leery about. But as far as keeping the body tissue clean, that's an easy one. You can use sheep sorrel, burdock root, dandelion root, slippery elm. There's a blend out there if you're loaded with toxins, okay? You work in an area whereby you're going to constantly inhale smoke or be affected by chemicals, a lot of chemicals. Somebody who works in a laboratory or somebody who works in a proprietary scent factory will be exposed to a lot of chemicals. There was a nurse in Canada, her name was Renee Cassie, and she acquired a blend from an Indian up in Canada, and it's a very popular blend, and it's used for flushing morbid material out of the tissues. It's an excellent blend. It has a trade name here, known here in this country, but if you make it yourself, it's very inexpensive, and it works really, really well. So you could even use this for, say, chemotherapy.
Really?
Yes. And I've had some people come back to me who have gone through chemotherapy and have told me that it helps them to keep their hair as they're going through it. So,
which is very important to
the
their
power.
their personal and psychological well-being while going through such traumas, is to try to stay as normal as possible and normal in their appearance as possible.
So there are blends out there that you could either make yourself or control where they come from by asking the shopkeeper, where does this come from, and then using a little bit of geography common sense. You don't want to buy rose hips from Chile, because Chile is a big flower producer and may use chemicals to increase the production. So logic and common sense says don't buy rose hips from Chile. But that's my opinion based on what I've seen of the world. Excuse me.
Now, many people suffer from digestive ailments. They suffer, that stems from stress or poor diets. Are there any herbs that are useful and spices for aiding in digestion and helping in stress?
Digestion specifically would be chamomile, unless you're allergic to flowers. Chamomile will help settle the stomach if you're allergic to flowers. Peppermint, spearmint, aniseed, coriander can all be used. Fenugreek can be used if you like the taste. And they'll settle the stomach.
Aren't these a lot of herbs and spices that used to be used in the what we used to call home cooking?
Yes.
And as we get to more processed food that we're getting more out of, I guess it would be an added expense to add something like this into a Salisbury steak TV dinner.
Well, You could
Do you think our bodies and our diets are lacking because of the processed foods and lacking that kind of
oh yes,
ingredients
because
that would go into home cooking?
the processed foods basically take out the vitamins and nutrition from the vegetable and put back a chemically created nutrition and vitamin. It's high in niacin, but where's the niacin coming from? Okay, did it grow in the plant? No, it's being put in by a laboratory synthesized chemical. And this is the way our processed foods are. If we can stay more towards real bread, real vegetables, real meats, real juice, instead of everything that's been chemically added to enhance the flavor, we're on the way to keeping our bodies clean and the tissues pure. Now, if we get sick, we just need something very simple. If we need a doctor, doctors have, we need doctors in the world, true, okay? They're very learned for their regimen of identifying what the problem is. We have the best medicine in the world for that.
I break a leg, I want a doctor.
There you go. They're the best ones for setting it. They're best ones for cutting, okay? But herbs also have their place, too. And they're less expensive, so they're not as popular among the world because, let's face it, you're not going to find a lot of people employed by the herb industry except for farmers and sellers.
Right.
Excuse me. But they have their place. They'll assimilate into the body quicker. They're not bad for you unless you use them incorrectly. And that's upon you to learn.
That brings me around to the question, are there dangers to one's well-being if they're not trained in the use of medicinal herbs?
Well, since training in the United States of medicinal herbs is so little, and the information available is a lot. I mean, you can go to the library and you can get a lot of books on what everything will do. Realize, though, who paid for the cover of that book? Is it a bias of pro or against echinacea? Or is it an independent author? Or is he known by an American Botanical Society or another botanical society?
Yeah.
And if you can get 3 authors to agree with the same thing, you got a winner. That's what I was always told in college.
We know a lot about mental conditions such as Alzheimer's disease and attention deficit syndrome and hyperactivity, as well as depression. Do you have safe and beneficial combinations with some medicinal herbs, especially attention deficit syndrome? I know that if someone acts like a normal child now, you are diagnosed as having attention deficit syndrome. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that there are some people who do have a bona fide problem, but some of these pharmaceuticals are showing up with violent tendencies, especially in school children. Can you kind of give us a little background on what someone would do with ADD?
Okay, a hyperactive child can't sit down and can't focus. For them, you want to give them a sedative in a right combination. Valerian, skullcap, passion flower, St. John's wort are all, if you blend them correctly, will help the child to focus, to calm down just enough. You don't want to put them out, and you don't want to make them crazy either, or addicted to something. So you just want to basically calm them down. I have blends for a few children here, and I call it less hyperactive tea, and it's a recipe I got from a woman who moved over from Ohio, who got it from a naturopath out there. And her child has been on it for 2 years now and has been able to sit in the chair and relax and focus. The mother makes the tea before the child goes off to school and puts it in a thermos, and the child takes it and drinks it during the day. And it keeps the child calm. So the herbs do work in the right combination, and there's no one-size-fits-all. It has to be identified specifically for the child. So one pill for 10,000 kids is not the way herbology works. It's a specific protocol for every single person.
Well, Terry, I want to thank you again for sharing your knowledge and some of your blends here, and I hope that some of the people out there will find an interest and do a little investigating on their own, because that's what freedom is all about, is
Right.
finding your own way. Terry, it's been fun having you on the show, and I hope that our viewers have gained some insight on living a more healthy and natural lifestyle. And if you have any questions regarding tonight's program, please contact us at the number that will appear on the screen at the end of the show. Terry Gellner has been our guest, and I want to thank him for letting us experience his knowledge of medicinal plants and herbs. And if you would like to share your talent or ideas on this forum, please contact us. We'd love to hear from you. That's all we have for now, and I want to thank you for taking the first giant step towards nonconformity by watching Alternatives. I'm Al DiGiacomo.